Good morning or good afternoon, depending on your location. I'm Isis Simpson-Mersha, a conference producer and reporter at Reagan Communications. I'm thrilled to welcome you all to How to Harness AI for Elevating Internal Workplace Communications in partnership with AppSpace. I'm joining from Michigan, where the weather is quite warm. It's 50 degrees, the sun is out. So why don't you take a moment to share in the chat where you're joining from today. Internal communications platforms are supposed to be designed to facilitate communication and collaboration, but they don't always live up to the promise. Inefficient processes, missing documents, data overload, and lack of content strategy can quickly turn a platform into a mess. But what if AI could help streamline processes, make data-driven decisions, and improve efficiency? That'd be great, right? I'm going to check to see where people are joining from. I'm seeing New York, Tennessee, Trinidad and Tobago. That's awesome. India, New Orleans, Portland, Los Angeles, Baltimore. It's always interesting to see where people are joining from. Amazing. All right. So throughout this engaging session, we'll discuss how to save time and boost engagement on content with summaries, how to go global with automated content translation into multiple languages, and how to target your content based individual preferences and data, and just so much more. Our speaker will dive in all of that in just a bit, but first, some housekeeping notes. Please use the chat box to let us know of any technical issues or to ask our speakers any questions. There will be plenty of time during the webinar for that. After today's session, you will receive the slides from today's webinar, the recording and bonus materials, and a survey within 24 to 48 hours. Now on to our speaker of the day, Maximo Castagno. He's Chief Design Officer at AppSpace. Maximo, welcome to the virtual stage.
Hi, Isis. Thank you for the intro. Let me share my screen so I can show you some cool stuff around AI today. Can you confirm that you can see my screen? It's loading.
Yes, it's loading. We can see it.
Perfect. So thank you, everyone, for being here today. I hope we will have a very productive session. I'm internally called at AppSpace as Max. I'm the Chief Design Officer. Formerly, I was the Chief Product Officer at Busy, a company that AppSpace acquired. And I kind of have a unique background in this tech industry because my background is in sociology. I started a long time ago trying to understand how people use technology. It was the late 90s, last century. And the dot-com bubble gave me a quick overview about how rapid change was affecting our practice, the way that we were living, shopping, working, etc. I've seen some of your the places where you are connecting from today. Personally, I was born in Argentina. I lived in Switzerland and in London for a while, and I live, by now I have lived most of my life in Barcelona, Spain. I try to blend in my daily practice the kind of behavioral insights that my background in sociology give me, with a clear focus on user experience and design, and try to create and elevate the human experiences that technology can provide. Having said that, I hope we will have a very human technology. We will be talking about a topic that kind of challenges our human side. So that will be exciting from my perspective. I'm passionate about this topic. I'm really grateful to my current company that allows me to explore this fascinating world of AI. And then for the agenda today, it's really a way of triggering a conversation with you. I will allow enough time for a Q&A because I want to make this conversational. This is not a sales pitch. I will give you a hint of how my product design kitchen looks like with my team internally, the kind of features that we're cooking, the way that we think about AI from a product perspective, but you should be able to apply all these ideas, inspiration, even I will go a little bit into our design philosophy for applying AI. You should be able to relate to everything that I show you without buying an AppSpace product. So it's really about sharing ideas. I will represent some of these ideas with what we are cooking in my product company, but truly with the spirit of trying to help you on your day-to-day, whether or not you buy our product. And that's the spirit also for the Q&A. Try to go a bit deeper, how you can apply some of these ideas in your day-to-day with virtually any tool that you have at hand. But before that, let me start with this quote that I like quite a lot. It's from one of the 2, 3, 4 well-known godfathers of artificial intelligence, meaning people that have been working on this forever. Yann LeCun works today at Meta. And in this quote, he's just mixing a couple of things. And I like the way that these things are stated. Our intelligence is what makes us human. AI is extending that quality. Therefore, AI is extending what we can do with our abilities, and it's making us more human. It's kind of an equation. It's a bit mathematical as a quote. It has a side that I believe is very honest and very real. It is true that as a species, our biggest character is our intelligence compared to other species, but there is also some kind of a worrying message behind this quote, and it triggers a little bit what is happening in many of us at the moment. It's kind of this double side of AI and how we are digesting as a people, as humans, this AI explosion. It's exciting. It connects us. It connects us to our human side, and at the same time, it scares us about losing some parts of our human side. So really, all my presentation will try to be focused on allowing AI to make us more human, allowing AI to kind of do the things that we don't want to do, and be more free to do the things that we really want to do and that we're good at. So there it goes. We can come back to this quote later, or you will be able to come back to this quote later and see what do you think and how do you see this quote. As I share in the agenda, what we're going to do is start to understand the areas of disruption in internal communication. This is really focused on the world of internal communications, very focused on my work with intranets and intranet customers, and the intranet side of our product platform. And we're going to take a look at the areas that will be for sure disrupted by the progress in AI. Let me have a bit more water. So the first area, maybe the one that we have all experienced in the last 11 months through ChatGPT, is content generation. It has to do with this concept of generative AI. And the idea is that AI should help a lot on content creation, content generation. Today, AI can generate content, can summarize content, can produce some kind of Q&A version of a specific content. We will see some cool examples later on. That can be used for news update, for announcements, for a lot of what internal communications does in their day-to-day. It should save time. We're going to discuss maybe that there are some differences in how we all use AI when we are, for example, using a product like ChatGPT. Some of us will follow a strategy, some of us will follow another strategy, some of us will be combining different tools. I personally use Grammarly a lot. I use ChatGPT and Grammarly in very complementary ways. And we all have a specific strategy. So the same technology can help two people in very different ways, and that's what we're going to be looking at around content generation. The second aspect is content optimization, trying to analyze or use AI to understand the performance of a content strategy and a content delivery platform, trying to understand the performance or to predict the performance of a piece of content, maybe optimizing some parts of that piece of content. And that area is very, very interesting. It has been trending quite a lot in the consumer world and also in the marketing world. Tools like Canva have been really betting on this content optimization side of things for quite some time. And there are some of the things that Canva is doing that we could bring into the mix of an internal communication strategy. Content personalization, obviously, I think AI is allowing us to move from personalization in our intranets or personalization in our digital workplace to an era of hyper personalization with more and more variables, with more and more ways of not only delivering the right content to the right audience, but maybe delivering it in a very specific version of it. Maybe the younger generations of a company might get another tone of voice of the same content. So those are the things that we will be covering with content personalization. And then there is an usual suspect that we have been seeing around for quite some time now, which is language translation, which is obviously has been around for some time, but we are reaching a level now where it's so seamless. You can rely so much on technology that it's also kind of disrupting some of the features or some of the workflows that you might have. Obviously, it allows to foster that kind of multilingual, diverse workforce that some of your companies will benefit from because you operate at a global scale. It fosters also cross-cultural collaboration. And here I have a little anecdote. Language translation is probably one of the first AI features that we started delivering in our product. I remember working on auto-translating articles, news articles, already 2 years ago. And the way that we created that feature 2 years ago was kind of in a quite shy way. We did it an opt-in approach. Opt-in as opposed to opt-out means that you don't get, for example, in a large company that implements our intranet product, you don't get all the content translated by default all the time, but you need to push a button to translate into 1 or 10 or 15 languages automatically. And then we had a complete flexible way to manually tweak and change the translation that you get. And 2 years ago, was exactly what our customers were asking us to do. Be careful, help the content creators, help with automatic translation, but make sure that we can tweak the output of the translation, because at that time, translations were still not very, very, very accurate sometimes. And with some important corporate messages, that could be a problem. And then make it opt-in. So not all our content creators will want to translate the content all the time. We are 2 years in since we started thinking about that feature, delivered that feature, and tested that feature, and we have data about that feature and how our customers are using that. And I can tell you that the main logic today, the way that our product is configured, is mostly on an opt-out basis, which means that all content, when we are deploying our product in a multilingual setup, all content gets translated by default to all languages. And it is true that we always give the content creator the capability to tweak the translation, but very rarely content creators do that, go and change things. We even have a way to report content that might have content translation problems, and we don't see reports appearing reporting problems with the translation. So in these last 2 years, language translation has gone from quite good to excellent. And it's yet another example that there is kind of a qualitative shift in all the areas that I will be mentioning. And as AI crosses this kind of chasm of the qualitative shift that I'm mentioning, it becomes really, really not a change, but a disruption. A few more areas of disruption: content categorization. When I started 20 years ago working on intranets and employee communication and knowledge management, I remember tagging content was one of the biggest trends and topics. And 20 years ago, we thought that humans were going to categorize and tag content. It was just a matter of giving them the right tools. And it turned out 20 years later that we humans don't like tagging content. And it also happens that now AI is really, 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 really good at categorizing and tagging content. It's almost kind of what made ChatGPT work, this statistical side of analyzing languages that is so entrenched in the current generative AI technology that is day one excellent at categorizing content. So it will make a big difference. Content recommendation will also be something very important and subject to disruption, because it's not just about suggesting content to employees. It's well beyond that. It's suggesting people that they should meet. It's suggesting people that might answer their questions that they have in the internal social networking or in Slack or in Teams. It's about almost having an agent that is recommending you things based on what you do. When we work a lot with Microsoft technology, and by operating with the Microsoft Graph, we very, very quickly understand the power and the disruption that is going to happen as all this AI technology is fully deployed across a Microsoft platform, for example, other platforms as well. But I think it's going to be very, very important in companies running Microsoft platforms. So it's really, really becoming next step in terms of content recommendation. And maybe we're going to see some disruptions around search as well there. Voice and video, we will see some examples of how AI is allowing to move seamlessly from text to voice, from voice to text, from video to text with transcripts. And all this creates kind of a multimedia type of content consumption, where you might start your day reading something in your intranet, but you might finish your day listening to some audio podcast type of corporate information on your way home, in your CarPlay, in your car commuting home, for example. And then finally, there is this important area of automated moderation, moderate content. I remember our products had always been very strong in the social collaboration side of things and kind of communities and all this. And there was, since the beginning, a big, concern from our customers about moderating all this content. It never turned out to be a critical problem, but in large-scale deployments, it's very needed to moderate, to see what's going on, to predict problems, and work with content, with that variable inside the content lifecycle management as well. So all these are just 8 examples of areas of disruption, all very relevant. It's not all the areas that will be disrupted, but I think it's a good overview of what is happening and how AI is being harnessed to really make a difference in those areas. But
Before you move along, Maximo,
yep.
really quick, I just want to highlight a couple of questions because I think it makes sense to address them now because they're about translation and
Yep.
accuracy. So someone asked, how are you ensuring translation accuracy?
Mm-hmm. Well, as I said before, the technology is becoming so good that you need to worry less and less about the translation accuracy. But you will always have some concern, especially in internal comms where you need to pass some important messages, sometimes coming from the top level management, and sometimes with even legal compliance that you need to follow. I think the combination here is using good translation engines. Large language models now are helping a lot on that. So good quality translation engines will help. And then you need to put humans into the mix. So you need to allow people to easily understand that some content has been translated. You have to be very open about how you're using AI to translate. And you have to offer the users a very quick and easy mechanism of reporting any problem with the translation. That's what we do at the platform level, the product level, and that's what I would suggest that you need to do.
Okay, one more. Someone asked, with AI language translation features, do you have any insight to how someone's role might evolve, if they were a company translator?
Well, yes, I would say, bad news for pure language translation. If that's 90% of your job and you only are really doing kind of old school translation, your expertise will not be needed a lot in the world of generative AI. Because those models are so well trained that they can not only translate, but also mimic the style of a person. So we are seeing AI reaching a level of quality in terms of translation, where if I were a translator, that was my job today, I will be looking at the opportunities. Every job will kind of has this duality where the pure content creation side of it might be heavily disrupted by AI, but the curation and editing side of things is where you need to put the effort. So I don't know if that answers the questions, but I think all of us need to shift from being pure only content creators into being curators of content, organizers of ideas. Storytelling will always be some kind of a very heavily human side of thing, and basically try to work on an editorial level more than on the pure creation or translation level. You need to transform yourself if you are a content translator, yes.
All right, thank you. I think that's all we have for right now for this particular area.
Keep them coming because I would like to make this conversational. So if good questions appear in the chat, I cannot see it myself, but please let me know. Cool. Let's get a bit more visual and let's see those ideas in motion here. What I'm going to show you now is some ideas we are working in our product. All the screenshots on the right-hand side are bits and pieces of the product design kitchen that I mentioned before. Those are things we are cooking. You will be able to relate to some of these iconography and features because actually most products that you use every day are having this AI transformation. But they allow me to explain a bit, not only where they come from, these ideas, but also how do they adapt to the corporate world. So writing content, creating content, AI prompts can not only make writing faster, but also more accurate. Also, it can offer fresher kind of perspective on a topic. or create some ideas that you could have not think about without this big helper. And this is a feature that we started working on quite some time ago, I would say over a year now. We started seeing products out there using generative AI to avoid the kind of empty page syndrome, right, for creating content. And what is interesting is that we have been running some user research as well on this aspect. And we see that no two users will have the same strategy for this. Some of us wants to ask AI to create kind of an outline of an article. Some of us will start writing the article and then use AI to improve it. Some of us will write the article and only use AI in some parts of the article. Some of us will write the article, improve it, and then ask another AI agent what do they think about the article, or if they think there is something missing in the article. So the strategies that we are all using with AI when writing content differ. You have an idea of what we are offering now in the product. You can start from scratch, ask AI to write something, maybe about some specific topic. You can ask AI to clarify or make more easy to understand something that you wrote. That's something that I do all the time. I have a tendency to overcomplicate things when I'm writing. I actually realized that thanks to using AI. And now I have a prompt or some tools that allow me to, okay, I wrote my paragraph, I'm happy with it. I spitted what I wanted to say. Now let's make it more easy to understand. All these things can be handled with little icons and buttons and easy ways to tweak and change an article in its full length or in specific parts of it. What you will see also in these screenshots is that every time we build something, it has to be easy to use and not use. It has to be very easy to provide quick feedback about the quality of what AI is proposing. So this kind of rate this answer, thumbs up, thumbs down, which is very similar to what you see in ChatGPT, for example, today, is very, very important. As I said before with translation, giving users a quick access to give feedback about the quality of AI is paramount. Working with imagery, I think that in the last 5-10 years, intranets have understood, or intranet managers have understood something very important, that we are competing with the attention, within the attentions economy. Our employees are bombarded in their consumer life with great use of imagery and video, and more recently audio as well in the form of podcast. So we definitely need to adapt to that if we want our messages to be read, seen, listened to, etc. So making content visually appealing has always been a big concern. We did a long journey about that. I think most internal communicators nowadays understand how important this is. But the quality of the imagery that we get asked to deliver keeps increasing as it increases in the consumer world, in our mobile phones, with Instagrams, with all the filters, with AI, etc. So here you will see a blend of different features that we are starting to offer in our product. On the top right-hand side here, you have smart suggestions. Imagine you are typing an article, and as you craft the text side of the article, AI is suggesting specific imagery that can come from a generic database of images, or it can come from your proprietary set of images that you have already sanctioned and allowed to use in the platform. Other things that we see is the use of effects. Now things like removing a background, blurring the background, changing the color, for example, to match the branding colors or the branding palette of the imagery that you want to use. Those are things that are very easy to ask AI to do. Things around smart focus, to decide where do we put the focal point, how do we show one image in so many different formats that image might appear in different devices, in different situations, in different types of content that you might have in your intranet, but also in digital signage. We work a lot on the physical side of internal communications with devices and with digital signage. So I remember it was kind of easy to provide a kind of a cropping tool for a header of an article. Over time, it became almost impossible to crop an image that will work everywhere. So asking AI to help on how to optimize how and where we are using the image in different devices with different ratios, with different viewports, etc. It's become increasingly important. And then finally, this is again back to the human side of technology. We don't need to think about AI only to make things shine and look visually appealing. We also need to think about being inclusive. So one other thing that we as humans don't like to do is to upload an image and then think about explaining that image, for example, for the alt text that is required for an accessible delivery of content. So accessibility is important. We all acknowledge that. But then even if a tool like AppSpace provides the possibility to put an alt text in every image, if I had the possibility to see you all in a room and I will ask you to raise the hands. I don't know if you can shout out or send some icons here in the presentation, but I don't think that many of you are being very disciplined about working with alt text for images, for accessibility. Again, this is what AI is becoming really, really good at. Showing things, showing or explaining what a picture shows. AI is getting really, really good. Do we need to only rely on AI? No, you will see that all our features always allow for humans helping, tweaking, changing, modifying based on the first shot that AI took at it. Another interesting one is setting a tone of voice. You have been seeing products out there where you can grab a piece of text and change the tone. You have been this kind of typical human categories like casual, professional, humorous, inspiring, friendly, etc. You've seen this in Grammarly. You've seen this in, you can also ask that ChatGPT. What we see here is that the opportunity is not only to allow content creators to do that, to try to cater for their audience and try to deliver those messages in the best tone of voice that their audience might want to hear things, but also that you can put in the intelligence your own tone of voice. So you could be kind of embedding in the content creation tool a unique tone of voice that your company might have that might be extracted from analyzing already the content and the marketing content, for example, that you're already using. Or you could have, imagine some settings somewhere that allow you to explain what the tone of voice of your company is. And what that will make is that it will produce a more consistent type of writing across the different content pieces and the different content writers and creators that you might have. And then the other thing about this that is related to the hyper-personalization that I talked about at the beginning is imagine that you could have one text that is delivered to two different audiences using a different tone of voice. Maybe younger generations will enjoy a more concise and inspiring tone of voice, and maybe some other generations of employees might want a more professional type of and more accurate type of tone of voice. So those are things that, again, could play at a corporate level by tweaking the general tone of voice of content creation, but also at an individual level to create this kind of hyper-personalized experience for employees. This one is an interesting one. And if I have the time, I think I do have a bit of time here. I will show you some other tools, not our tool, but other tools. Knowledge retention. What we are seeing is that AI is getting really, really good at not only summarizing content for you. So before you read some content or after you read some content, we can summarize and send some specific snippet of that content. But we play with this concept of generating Q&A, quizzes, or flashcards about content. So what you're seeing here in the screen is some block that could be positioned at the end of a long article where maybe some important think about the way that this company is compensating their employees. So it's a long text written by HR. And then at the end, AI is just summarizing some of these into kind of short flashcards. We all know and remember from the times at school how flashcards turning content into questions and brief answers help us consolidate knowledge and retain knowledge. And this is something that AI can easily do today. And for that, I will show you just one product that is not our product. I have nothing to do with that product. I just discovered that product looking at some AI cool innovative products. It's called Wisdolia, and it's just a browser plugin, an adding to the browser. So imagine that I'm here in the Greenpeace site. I'm reading an article. I find the article interesting, and I'm going to use this plugin now to analyze the article and turn it into flashcards. And you can see how quickly it understood the article, and it's giving me already the first question that it finds I could be answering after reading the article. What is the current state of global plastic? I don't know, but I get a quick answer here. I move to the next question. Why is reducing production important? Still don't know. Sorry, I didn't read that, but I get again a short snippet, and I get now why this is important. And maybe I will ask and try to answer this question. What are the potential benefits of reducing plastic production? Maybe biodiversity. I don't know. So is different animals don't die because of plastic. It could be that. It's checking with the content. It's giving me feedback. What you got wrong can be, but only indirectly. And it's giving me more information. So you are seeing here just how a browser plugin is allowing me to analyze text and play into this kind of game of understanding the content, reacting to the content, anchoring some of the knowledge of the content. And I have here a video also by the same company, and you can run this also on top of a video. So you load the video, you load the browser plugin, and you are starting answering questions that are based on the video content as well. So technology is evolving really, really fast. And Wisdolia is a plugin that you can put on your Chrome browser. And as I said before, you don't need to use our products to implement some of these ideas that I'm mentioning here, because you can already benefit from, I don't know, you write an article and then you go and run that article through a product like Wisdolia, and you get some flashcards extracted. I think this is an example of how AI as a capability is really revolutionizing some of content consumption, content retention as well, and will help us really move the needle when it comes to knowledge. Cool, more things. Magic brandings. How much time do we spend as a company to try to have our intranet on brand, our content on brand, the use of imagery that I mentioned on brand, and things like that. And brands and brandings change over time. So we could be using AI to quickly obtain the branding configuration. We are working in our product on a section of our product that is really all about the brand center, how you configure the different color palettes, fonts, etc. And we could connect, we could connect this and this is actually something that is happening already. My designers have a Figma plugin that they can point to a specific website and analyzes the website and extracts the branding elements of that website. So having a branding center or having some branding configuration in your tools extracted by just plugging them your marketing site is something that is kind of already happening in the design world. It could be something that we extend to, for example, SharePoint configuration or intranet tools configuration, etc., etc. Sentiment analysis, this idea that it's becoming almost for free to analyze the sentiment of content when we send some of these API requests to, I don't know, OpenAI or Microsoft Azure or Copilot or these kind of tools, it always, almost by default, comes the sentiment of that text if you want to use it. So we can really be easily and cheaply monitoring what's going on with content. This is specifically important for user-generated content, for employees commenting on news or reacting in some kind of community inside your intranets or your modern intranets or your digital workplace tools, and try to address potential problems, issues, or just react or understand which type of content is generating a more kind of positive engagement within employees. This one is an interesting one, publishing optimization. We're going to see AI offering more and more ways to identify patterns of things that correlate with higher levels of engagement. This is actually kind of mimicking what is already happening in marketing tools. But imagine that you are about to post something, and the moment you publish, AI comes with a few suggestions on, hey, it's Monday. You might get this level of engagement if you do it now, but if you schedule this post to be posted tomorrow at lunchtime, you might get a better engagement, obviously based on the audience, the region, the location, the time zones, and all this other information that can happen. So this is just one example of optimizing publication or publishing flows with just time frames, but imagine this adapting the tone of voice, adapting or intercepting the moment you are publishing something and saying, hey, this content is not visual enough. We suggest that you add at least a couple of images to support some of the talking points. You might enable some audio capabilities, kind of listen to it or things like that, that we will see in a minute. I think there is a long way to go for this concept of content optimization. Again, because if we don't bring these marketing techniques to the corporate world, we are competing with marketing in the outside world, in the consumer world, and this is happening. How many of you go to your Instagram feed and are surprised by how accurate and effective it is? So we need to use the same techniques to engage with our employees. Auto-translate, this is an interesting one. This is different than the translation support that I mentioned before. This is more targeting this kind of user-generated content. We are reaching a point where if you plug this to the right translation tool, you can really rely on it, explain to everyone that this has been an automatic translation. So Darlene wrote something in English and I might be reading it in Chinese or some other language. I know she didn't write this in this language, but it's my language. I understand it. And this is, again, something that is happening in the consumer world. We all see websites with reviews, especially in Europe, where there is a bigger mix of languages. And if I go to a big shop retailer online and I check some of the reviews, they all appear to me in Spanish because I'm in Spain, or in English if I'm in London. But I know some of them have been written in German or in Italian or in Portuguese, etc. It doesn't matter. I know that it's an automated translation. It does the job for 80% of what that person wanted to say, if I have a question, or I want to ask a question, or I want to clarify some term, I can do that. But it really creates this kind of global community that can be talking to each other in whatever language they choose to do so. So it's really moving the needle and creating a lot of interesting dynamics, I would say, social dynamics between employees. The next one is prompt-based queries and configurations. There are some things that are easy to do with a UI, with buttons and links and screens, but there are complex things that are so easier to do with a prompt-based type of user interface. In this example, we have a part of our product to book rooms in buildings, in companies. How easier it is to just type something that would say, I want to book a room today at 11 p.m. or at 11 a.m. for 10 people with a whiteboard. That's just one sentence, as opposed to click here and there to select all these things. How cool would it be to sometimes configure SharePoint, which by default it's kind of a difficult to use, powerful but difficult to use sometimes tool, with a prompt-based question. I want to run a campaign about diversity and inclusion for this and this and these audiences, and the system could configure or suggest ideas for configuring an entire campaign. Can you imagine? And then finally, listening to content. I think it's something that is kind of coming from the boom, a previous boom of the podcast revolution or neo-revolution in the consumer world. We are seeing AI reaching a point that where it can really, really effectively help narrate content. So take text-based content and put it in an audio snippet that can even be cloning or sounding like the voice of the content creator. And I know when they say the word cloning, it makes us a bit nervous, but hey, this is already happening. Apple is already offering a way in which you will clone your voice to be used in your answering machine, let's call it like this, in your iPhone. So you will teach your phone your voice, and your phone will be able to deliver voice on your behalf using what it understood about your voice. And I can tell you that if you go to sites like 11 Labs and you try some of the voices that are AI generated based on some specific voices of us, I think it needs only just 20 seconds of our voice to do a really, really good job, where you sometimes don't even know that this is a generated voice. Which takes me to the final section before I allow some minutes for the Q&A. It's important that we follow principles when we are working with AI. I'm not going to list all of them, but I wanted to touch upon 3 important ones that we follow when we design our AI capabilities and tools. And I think this will be useful for you to kind of understand how you could be also thinking about this. The first one is that we want AI to be all over the place, but at the same time, very contextual. We cannot offer the same AI-powered solution to different problems. When we are uploading an image and we know that this image might need an alt text, we need to use AI to suggest that alt text. When you access the tag section of our publishing system to categorize content, we can suggest tags. What we cannot do is go back to the old clippy days, where AI was not contextual, was not understanding what was the task that you were trying to do, and it was more getting in the middle instead of helping you with your existing tags. It has to be everywhere in a product, but at the same time, be very specific about how it is helping users in a very specific context. Speaking of which, it has to be non-intrusive and reversible. You might not need AI today. You might try it and want to get rid of it. So every feature that we do should not obstruct the user's primary goal, should be something that users can call, but also remove if it's not of great use. And then finally, there is this concept that Microsoft is working a lot and that we are also kind of implementing in our AI strategy, which is this concept of grounding AI into your reality, your company's reality. And for that, a very simple example can be understood. ChatGPT is a generic large language model. It knows a lot about the human side of us and how humans write in particular, but it doesn't know by default about the context of our company. So what we are trying to do in our product is really grounding those large language models into the reality of a company. Imagine you ask ChatGPT, who are our competitors? Try to do that today. AI will tell you, or ChatGPT will tell you, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. I'm not programmed to, I don't know what you mean by competitors. Now, if you ask that question within the context of your specific organizations, we expect the general language model to also be trained on some specific things that only apply to your company. And that is the concept of grounding a large language model or a large artificial intelligence engine into the reality of your company. And with that, Isis, I ran a little bit, but I think I covered the basics of what I wanted to share today.
Yes, thank you so much. That was very insightful, and there's a lot of engagement in the chat. People are sharing resources and emails, so that's really cool. So we do have a couple of questions. Everybody, if you do have questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A chat, and we'll get to as many as we can today.
The first question here was, is the content input into ChatGPT secure?
Yeah.
Where is the ad information stored and who has access to it?
Yeah, that's a really good question that comes very, very often in these type of discussions of internal communication in particular. We don't want to, by asking something to AI, be compromising the way that we are securing this information. So we don't want to, by using AI, be sending content outside the company in a way that we don't feel comfortable with doing so. And obviously that was kind of an issue at the beginning when ChatGPT, ChatGPT was really released for the consumer 11 months ago. So it's not a long time ago. We all jump into it, and sometimes we copy pasted some content to ChatGPT, and that is not secure. What we are proposing here, or at least the way that my company is dealing with this, is that we have our own AI engine that is capable of connecting to these large language models, like, for example, the OpenAI ChatGPT, GPT-3, 4, etc., through a secure way. We mostly work inside SharePoint and Microsoft 365, and the way that we create that connection is in a secure way that falls under the setup of a Microsoft Azure type of configuration. So we are providing AI tools, but those AI tools are always operating within the context of a secure IT infrastructure. I don't want to go too technical here, but it's a good question. And my recommendation is make sure that whatever AI cool innovation you adopt, that you check that the way that this technology is working is fully secure and falling under your compliance for this data protection side of things.
Got it. Okay, great. Could you use AI to monitor responses coming in on social channels? For example, feedback from customers.
Yes, I've seen that. There are products out there. We don't really work with customer facing type of tools. I don't have that experience myself, but I've worked and we connected our product with products like, for example, Sprinkler. I know they are big in the UK. That are capable of using AI, are capable of monitoring social networks consumer social networks, and they have been recently adopting AI models to understand a bit better what is going on in those social networks. So definitely an area that if you are interested, you should explore, because there are products and the technology is evolving fast there.
Okay, great. This question is from Stacy. She says, in my mind, the question of the convergence between AI and human communications professionals comes down to the notion of authenticity and, as you
Yeah,
called it, content curation.
yeah.
Keeping this in mind, what advice would you give to directors and managers of communications that would allow them to stay employable and authentic while embracing AI tools?
I think my main recommendation will be try use AI as soon as possible and try to find your own strategy. Your strategy will be personal, will be one that will work for you. And when you start using these tools, you can start with Grammarly and ChatGPT and maybe Claude or some other different models.
Mm-hmm.
You will understand very quickly where you are good at and where technology is not as good as you are. And you need to start finding that balance very quickly and understand, hey, I can do a great team with AI and being more employable than ever. I hear more and more this concept of it's not AI that is going to steal our job, is humans helped by AI that might get my job if I don't react and I don't make the most out of it. So it's not AI per se that will remove my human side. It's AI helping someone else that understood better how they can be helped by AI that might put my job at risk. And I kind of like that approach.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Great answer. A lot of people here are wondering if you have any recommendations for AI tools that do image generation or that can help with video content creation or something like that.
Yeah, good questions. I would say that in general, image generation is lagging a little bit behind text-based AI. You can see that if you go to Midjourney or you try to use the first variations of DALI. Even today, DALI, sometimes personally, I have the feeling that all images look a bit futuristic and weird and artificial. It's moving fast, but I would say that image in general is lagging a bit behind. So experiment with it, but you have a bit of time to adapt to the technology, because I don't see a world in which in the next 6 months, the same thing that happened with ChatGPT in a text format will happen with images. It will take a little bit more time.
Right.
With video is slightly different, because I'm starting to see companies where you type text, you upload a video of yourself, or you choose another person, and it's creating a video of a person speaking, moving their lips in a very, very realistic way to depict as if they were reading the text. So it's interesting. Video, I would say it's interesting. It's moving really, really fast.
Great. Okay, cool. And this is the last question here that we'll do for today. Any questions that Maximo does not answer, we're going to send to AppSpace so that they can respond. And then we'll put the answers on the post-event page that you'll all be receiving. But this last question here is, how do companies engage with AppSpace? Is it a yearly contract based on size or number of users, or can it be used as a project-based service?
That question will be more for my colleagues at sales. I know we can follow up on that question for sure.
Great.
All I know is that we have a product where we sell licenses of our product. We do have a very extensive enhanced service part of the company that is doing really projects to make the most out of our products. So there will be a combination of service providing services and selling licenses that will be involved in that discussion.
Great. Okay, well, we can get that answer for you guys. Thank you everyone so much for attending today. Thank you, Maximo, for the wonderful content. Just so everybody knows, you will be receiving a post-event page that will contain the recording, copy of the slide deck, and any bonus materials that AppSpace shares. You should be receiving that in the next 48 hours. Thank you for attending today, and everybody have a wonderful rest of your day.